Roughly 10% of people on the planet are aware of having a specific fear or phobia. This week, one of my favourite YouTubers confronted one of theirs and managed to beat it. In this video, I'm going to give you my thoughts on exactly how they succeeded in doing that. I'm Tim Box, Mind Coach, and this is one way of getting rid of a phobia. If you've spent any time on YouTube in the last decade or so, then you'll be well aware of Tom Scott. He was a YouTuber before the term existed, and for years he's been posting some of the most educational, fascinating, and at times just plain weird content out there. He's even got videos that manage to make computer programming sound interesting. Last week he posted his latest video in which he goes to a theme park to confront his long-standing fear of roller coasters. As you may know, I'm a mind coach, and for more than a decade now I've been working with people to help them overcome all sorts of emotional and psychological issues. And one of the things I work with a lot is fear. So you can imagine how excited I was when this video popped up on my recommended list. I couldn't resist having a look at this and breaking down what I felt were the key moments that turned what could have been an unpleasant day of doing the thing you're most afraid of into a triumphant and liberating process of overcoming and getting rid of a long-lasting phobia. Let's have a look at how he did it. Now, the first thing to say is that I urge you at some point to watch that video. It's about 20 minutes long, and Tom goes on 3 roller coasters at Alton Towers theme park in the UK. He gets to meet the maintenance guys for each ride, and they take him through their daily safety checks so he can allay any concerns regarding the likelihood of malfunction. Each ride is a little bit more serious than the last one, and you do get to see a lot of frightened man on roller coaster footage. Stuff like this. But there were a few key moments in the process that I think were pivotal in instigating change. And I'm going to break these down for you because they beautifully demonstrate the process of how a person's mind can relearn its current response to a certain stimulus. Near the start of the video, Tom says this.
I've wanted to get over my phobia of roller coasters for a very, very long time. To be clear, this is an actual phobia. I am irrationally afraid of this.
So at what point does a fear become an actual phobia? Well, opinion tends to differ on this. Some will say it's measured by the level of fear. If it's not too bad, it's just a fear. If it's really bad, then that becomes a phobia. I remember Gillian McKeith on I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here trying to convey to her campmates why her fear was worse than theirs, because she was actually phobic rather than just afraid. Other people would define a phobia as an irrational fear. So if it's a fear of sharks or lions, then that's rational because those things could hurt us. If it's a fear of buttons, then that's a phobia because it doesn't make any sense to be afraid of something that can't do us any harm. And it seems that's how Tom is defining this. It's irrational, so it's a phobia. He knows he's done more extreme activities than this before, and he knows riding a roller coaster won't harm him. However, fear is never purely irrational because irrational means without reason. And there's always a reason why we're afraid of something. A step he could have taken before heading to Alton Towers was to work out where the fear came from or find what's called the initial sensitizing event. Was it a bad experience on a roller coaster? Was it because someone he looked up to for safety and protection like a parent was afraid of them? Now, whilst it can help the process of understanding and letting go of fear to know what the ISE was, it's really not essential to instigate change. And that's true whether we're calling this a fear or a phobia. For me, when someone talks about having a phobia as opposed to a fear, it can be a red flag because they might regard a phobia as harder to get rid of than a fear. In truth, it's not. The distinction between the two is entirely arbitrary and inconsequential. But if we believe a phobia will be harder to shift, we set up a potential barrier of belief that doesn't need to be there. Fortunately, as we find out later, Tom regarding this as a phobia doesn't get in the way of what he's here to do. It's worth noting that as with all fears in this instance, Tom had a much worse time in the run-up to getting on the coasters than he did when he was actually riding them. Oftentimes, the worst part of any experience is our anticipation of what might be in store for us. This can lead to us not only fearing the activity, but perhaps more importantly, fearing how we will react. Will I lose control? Will panic set in? Here's a pivotal moment in the process when Tom goes on his first roller coaster.
What happens if I try and panic? Oh, okay. Yeah. I can control the panic feeling. Breathe through it and you're fine. This is a kid's ride.
When we've had a fear for a long time, we start to become less concerned about the perceived danger of the situation and more concerned with anticipating how we're going to react in the face of it. We're not now afraid of the roller coaster, we're afraid of the feeling of panic that the roller coaster might induce. In this moment, Tom realizes he can control that, and he does it by leaning into it and trying to make it worse. People often talk about the effectiveness of trying to make panic attacks or high anxiety worse as a method of reducing and getting control of it. What we're doing, put simply, is showing that feeling no fear. By trying to make it worse and by doing it with curiosity, we send a message to our subconscious that there is nothing dangerous about that panic or fear response. There's nothing to fear from the feeling itself. Once we've established that, the majority of the unpleasant emotional response is gone because now we don't have to fear losing control of it. This moment is more significant than Tom probably realizes because that's the moment where he stops having to fear his own response. Now he can just deal with the roller coasters themselves and how he feels about the experience of riding them. When we're trying to get over a fear, we often think we're meant to remain completely calm in the face of that situation. For some reason, we look at those who don't have a problem and think they must be completely unmoved by the experience. It's a common misconception that good public speakers remain completely calm when addressing a large crowd, when in fact, most of the time they feel incredibly adrenalized and are often literally buzzing on the inside. They're simply framing that feeling as excitement rather than fear. In the case of a roller coaster, no matter how much you enjoy them, you will always feel adrenalized when you ride one. Or at least, hopefully you will, because that's kind of the point of them. You're not meant to remain calm. Tom works that out right here.
Can't do this, you're going to yell, you're going to shout, you're going to use noise, because there's no way you're going to be able to breathe through this.
Now, adrenaline is what your body uses to spur you to action. It's fight or flight kicking in, the survival instinct. If we resist or fight that feeling, it feels really uncomfortable. Trying to remain passive as everything inside us is attempting to become active doesn't work. This is why when we stand up to speak in front of a crowd of people, we might hear our voice wobble or feel our hands shake. Our body now has an excess of adrenaline and it wants to move. This is why it feels good to scream on roller coasters. We're doing something with that adrenaline. It feels good to release this energy. When Tom does this, the strangest thing happens. He starts to enjoy the experience. Physically speaking, fear and excitement are viscerally almost identical, and it's amazing how quickly terror becomes exhilaration once we surrender to the experience and stop trying to control those feelings. Having conquered a smaller roller coaster, the final step in Tom's journey was to ride a bigger and potentially much scarier one.
So much more. That is so much more, and your legs are dangling and...
Once again, he's shown all the workings and how rigorous all the maintenance checks are, but let's be honest, he's a smart man. He knows this machine isn't going to break whilst he's on it. He's not getting on the ride wondering if he'll see the other side of it. He's fearing the experience the ride has for him, not the possibility of something going wrong. More often than not, we develop fears from an early learning experience where we go through something unpleasant or witness somebody else going through something unpleasant. After this, we're now fearing that unpleasant experience, not the perceived dangers that experience holds. We're afraid of how it will feel to be there doing this more than we're afraid of the potential for a disastrous outcome. So it might calm the logical part of our thinking to know someone looks after the mechanics of the monster we're about to get on, but all that does is make the fear seem irrational to us because we're still afraid. In truth, Tom has a very rational reason for fearing this roller coaster because he's expecting to feel high levels of terror and maybe even panic on the way round. But what he's able to use this time is his previous experience of turning fear into excitement and exhilaration. In this clip, you see the moment when he stops fearing the way the roller coaster makes him feel and embraces it as a good thing.
Here we go, here we go, here we go. Hold on. Come on, come on. Yes! Yeah! Yeah! Yes! Have it!
And then what probably represents one of the best feelings in the world, the moment you realise you no longer have anything to fear.
I like roller coasters. I love roller coasters. That's all I need to do.
There's one final barrier that sometimes stops people from facing and overcoming their fears. All the years they've spent invested in avoiding the thing they were afraid of and navigating life with that belief suddenly feel like a waste of time. In this next clip, you see that the first thing Tom does is suddenly retrospectively judge his behaviour in the past based on his fear.
All the years that I could have been going on that. All the years of my life that I spent not going on things like that because I was scared. I could have gone on that when I was, what, 12, 13? I've been 12,000 times. I have spent so many years being scared, and I'm not anymore.
However, it's important to realise that recognising we were mistaken about something is a good thing, no matter when it happens, because it simply means we've learnt something new today. Fortunately, Tom as an individual is far more invested in the process of learning than he is in any confirmation bias, belief perseverance, or sunk cost effect. Any moment of regret soon passes and the experience becomes what it should be, one of liberation and joy.
I won't do that again. I won't do a roller coaster in this park. Thank you. Thank you so much, Andy, all the team here. Thank you. That's one of the best things I've ever done.
So the thing that interests me about Tom Scott willingly heading off to confront his fear of roller coasters is that as a rule, most people don't do that. Now, as I said at the start of the video, it's estimated that roughly 10% of people on the planet are aware of having a specific fear or phobia of something. The most common ones being fear of heights, fear of flying, enclosed spaces, and snakes. But most people live their life avoiding the things they're afraid of rather than attempting to get rid of the fear. I only really see clients looking to get rid of a fear when life, the universe, or whatever God they might believe in has cruelly decided they can no longer dodge the thing they're afraid of. I see so many clients who are only taking the step to deal with this once life has decided they can no longer avoid it. I'll see people for a fear of needles because their health now makes injections necessary, or a fear of public speaking because they've just been promoted to a position that involves doing a lot of that. And I've even seen a lady who only took steps to get rid of her fear of spiders at the age of 67 because she'd just retired to the country and her new house was full of them. So first of all, well played Tom Scott for doing this. He could have simply continued to not go on roller coasters. Yes, you could argue that the quest for interesting content for an audience of millions is a fierce motivator, but as great a video idea as it sounds, 99% of people would still choose to find any excuse they could to not race headlong into the situation they most fear, no matter what the perceived benefit. Put simply, he didn't have to do this. And just maybe that's a big reason why he succeeded. When I see clients to help them deal with fear, I'm not the first step on their journey. They've first had to recognize there's a problem, then realize they might be able to do something about it. Then they have to get actively involved in searching out a solution and ultimately sourcing someone they think might be able to help them. By the time they get to me, they've already had to take quite a few deliberate steps towards dealing with this. And let's not forget that every step they take brings them closer to ultimately confronting the thing they most fear. This is why we often talk about change being a choice. We're not saying the problem we have is our own fault for having it, but we can choose to actively pursue the process of changing it. In my experience, it's the people that decide they won't stop that process until they've succeeded that get there the quickest. So, what are you afraid of? And does Tom Scott's journey inspire you to face and maybe even overcome that fear? Let me know in the comments below. And if you have any questions, put them down there too, and I'll do my best to answer them. I really hope this video has been of value. Please hit that thumbs up button if you like what I do, and why not subscribe to the channel for weekly mind management tips and anxiety advice. Remember, I'm also now doing a weekly live Q&A every Friday at 6 PM London time, where you can ask me your anxiety related questions. So please join me for that. Also, you can now become a member of this channel and get hours of extra anxiety advice, my 10-part tutorial for personal change, and weekly exclusive live streams. Just click the join button on the homepage for instant access. But that's it for now. I'm Tim Box, Mind Coach. Always remember to be kind to your mind, and I'll see you next time.